Hello and welcome to Nolan Financial Radio. My name is Chris McKinney from Nolan Financial Partners. If you'd like more information about your here during our show today, give us a call at 719-210-4242 or visit us online at our website, nolanfinancialpartners.com. And while at our website, click on the radio page, check out our past shows, and subscribe to our program on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Amazon Music. The expression, the best laid plans of mice and men often go awry, is attributed to an 18th century British poet named Robert Burns. I'm not a poet, but I like that saying.
Don't sell yourself short, Chris. You're a tremendous poet.
But this reminds us of how much we need to plan, right? We can only plan so much, but we've got to do it. We must remain nimble. We've got to be willing to adapt to circumstances that change. So our plan has to change with our circumstances. So this really applies to retirement in ways that require us to provide thoughtful planning for years in advance. And this is always wise to make sure that we have a plan, but also be flexible in how that needs to change. So if you're thinking about retirement when you're 40, you probably will think about it much differently when you're 60. So when you're 40, you're like, hey, I'm not going to work until I'm 70. That's way too late. Or you might think, oh, I'm going to work till I'm 70 because there's a lot of advantages. I feel great. And then it'll keep my Social Security payment going and make that huge. But then once you hit 60, you might start thinking, you know what, I'm out of here. I want to hit my full retirement age right now. I'm ready to go. So in today's show, we're going to consider some of the ways you may be able to move up your retirement date. So if your circumstances or feelings change, right? So that other voice you heard was my co-host, Tony Shore, who I'm guessing is a really big Robert Burns fan.
Oh, you know what? I actually am. I'm a little more of a Robert Plant guy.
Oh, sure.
But you know what, Chris? You're a poet, but you didn't even know it. But your feet show it. They're Longfellows.
Oh,
have you heard that one?
I have not.
He's a poet and he didn't even know it, but his feet show it. They're Longfellows. Get it? Oh, bad. Where's my bad joke sound?
I wear a size 11. I'm only 5'10", so I do have some big feet for my height.
Oh no, that's about right. That's about right, buddy. I'm shorter than that, and I have bigger feet than that. So I'm like a hobbit.
All right.
I live out in the Shire, you know.
Sure.
You know. So sounds like an interesting topic you've got for us. But first, How have you been, Chris? What's going on over there?
Really great. We're transitioning into fall, so moving away from the heat. It's nice, cool nights and warm days. I love the fall in Colorado Springs.
Mm-hmm. It's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fall is my favorite time of year, although at the same time, I'm kind of sorry to see summer went by so quick. We're in the final throes of summer, and that's crazy to me. I can't believe it's over already.
Well, I'm already planning where I'm going to go look at the fall foliage.
Oh, wow. That's neat.
I want to get up in the mountains and go see the aspens.
Oh,
change.
Nice.
And so there are a couple of really good hikes that you can do to go see some really beautiful vistas of the aspens while they're changing.
Take pictures.
Yeah, I'm going to. Yeah. They're challenging, so they won't be well traveled. But Tara and I will get up there and do them.
Tara's going with you. I think I saw she posted a photo of her on an airplane yesterday or a couple of days ago. Is that right?
That's right, and she's on an airplane today.
Where's she headed now?
She's coming home.
From where was she?
She was down in Tucson.
Tucson. Yep,
working for the Air Force.
Ah, gotcha. Oh, they need help too. She helps wherever she can go. Everybody
That's
needs
right.
Sarah, right?
That's right. Yeah, she's in demand.
Yes, she is. All right. Well, yeah, and poor Chris, you have to share her with everyone.
That's okay.
Yep.
I
Yep.
I I like my alone time.
That's good.
I
It's
like
like
my alone time, then I like meeting with clients. Those are the 2 things I like to
it's
do.
like my
So,
mom said when they asked her at my parents' 50th wedding anniversary, they were standing up there before they cut the cake and
yeah.
they said, you know, "How do you do it 50 years?" And she just said, "He was gone a lot," without hesitation. What's the secret to 50 years of marriage? That's what they asked her. What's the secret to 50 years of marriage? And my mom just without any pause said he was gone a lot.
So when Tara's been home for a little over 3 months, I start getting a little itchy. I was like, "Is it about time for you to travel?"
Absence makes the heart grow fonder, though.
Either
You
you
guys are
travel
great.
or we travel together, but we gotta get out of the house.
Yeah, yeah. I know you 2 love to travel together and
Yeah,
hike and do
yeah, we
things
do.
like that. That's awesome. But you also love helping our clients, and that's why we have
Yes.
the topic we have today, moving up your retirement date. A lot of people find themselves in this situation, right, Chris? I bet a lot of people come to you and say, "Hey, I'm sick of my job," or "My job's downsizing," or, you know, kind of a forced retirement. I'm only
Yeah.
61 and I'm only 6 years old, but I was gonna work until I was 67 or 70, but I gotta get out of there. I'm ready.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So,
I agree that that's too long to work for somebody else. It's hard. So,
yeah, if you don't like what you're doing or you can tell you're not wanted or it's a bad situation and you're already close, you know, in your
yeah.
60s, that's tough.
And 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 by that time, work becomes starts to become rote for a lot of people, right? It's the
Yes.
same thing every day,
Ye
and it's like, "Oh my gosh, I gotta go in and do the same thing."
Mhm.
And it doesn't really matter what it is. If you're doing the same thing, it gets tiring.
Sure.
So so there are a lot of Americans that are really hoping to retire early, not later, and so that's all good, but leaving work as early as possible, that means that your retirement is gonna be longer, which
Mm.
means you have to save more money because you have to plan on 30 or maybe even 40 years, because we try to plan for something around 90 or longer, for your lifespan. So if you retire at 50, that's 40 years of retirement. So do you have all the funding you need for a long retirement? You're gonna require a pretty substantial nest egg to get that done, and there's a surprising number of people that just simply do not have that much funds put away.
Yeah.
Only about 20%, from an AARP report I read, only 20% of Americans aged 50 and older, um, don't have any retirement savings at all. They don't have retirement savings at all, 20% of Americans.
Wow.
And 61% reported that they worry they don't have enough money to see them through retirement. So retiring's challenging and planning for it is challenging.
Oh, yeah. Wow. I mean, I'm really surprised. I guess I shouldn't be, but
Yeah,
20% with no retirement savings at all, and
yeah.
another 61% of Americans think they don't have enough. Those are stark numbers, Chris. I mean, that's tough.
Yeah, it really is. So, um, before you start bumping up your retirement date, there are things you can do right now, right? So,
Sure.
the first thing is to double check that you're maxing out your employer's 401k match, right? So, if you're not getting that match, you're losing out on a dollar to dollar amount. There might be a percentage of the dollar, but you're going to get free money if you get all your matching. So, for example, some employers offer a 50% match. So, if you put in 6% of your salary, then they'll put in half of that. So that's that. Say your salary is $75,000 a year, your employer matches 50%. So that's $2,250 a year. that you're not getting. That's free money
It's free
if you
money.
don't get that up to that 6% of your annual salary into that type of plan.
Sure.
So know what that percentage that they will match on is. Okay. Make sure you can put that in there. So when you turn 50, make sure you're looking at also the catch-up contributions. Talk to your financial service professional about that. There are catch-up contributions for people that are over 50, so you can add additional funds to a 401k or an IRA beyond what you can when you're under 50.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, that's one thing since I've been in my 50s, yeah, a couple of years here, give or take. I've been in my 50s now, but those catch-up contributions are great, and that's a great point.
yes,
Contribute as much as you can to your retirement accounts. That's a good first step, and of course, make sure you get that match. And you've explained this on previous shows. The catch-up contributions after you turn 50, they pack a huge financial punch. I mean, the
that's
compounding
right.
interest you're going to get on that money for your remaining working years. But remind us of some of the limits with retirement accounts so our
So,
listeners are aware. They probably are already aware, but remind us of those.
yeah, so it probably maybe not. So this is a great idea. So the IRS lets you defer income taxes on as much as $23,000 that you put into a 401k, a 403b, a 40 or 57b if you're under 50. If you're over 50, that amount jumps up to $30,500.
What?
Yeah. So
Wow.
for a solo 401k, the contribution limit is $69,000 plus an additional 7,500 if you're over 50. So for solo 401ks can really put a lot of money away now. So if you're self-employed, make sure that you are taking advantage of these kind of things, right? Now, for a personal IRA or a Roth IRA, the limit is $7,000 if you're under 50. If you're over 50, it's $8,000 this year. That's a lot of money now.
Yeah.
So I remember when Roth started, it was $2,000, and it was that way for a long, long time. And now they realize that people really that needs to change. And so now they've been cons- consistently moving those numbers up almost every year to reflect inflation and to reflect the fact that Americans are making more money and they need a way to save it for retirement.
Yeah. Yeah, that's important. I just think that so many people out there don't understand all the ins and outs, and so
Right.
they can make expensive mistakes, especially if you want to retire early. I think that listeners should know there are several more retirement accounts available as well. There are plenty of options out there. And Chris, I know that you can explain all the different strategies and options, and you like to customize them and cater them
Right.
to the individual, right?
That is correct. Yeah, everybody gets their own personal plan. I don't have a plan sitting on the shelf and here you go. That's not how it works. Because everybody's got their unique goals. Everybody has their unique financial situation. Um, so everybody has a unique plan.
Yeah, that's good. So, what's the next strategy?
So the next strategy is make sure you're saving automatically, right? So we've talked before about a spending plan. So you should have a spending account. Your checking account is your spending account, and
Hmm.
only put the money in there that you plan to spend, and then all the money that you don't plan to spend, have it go into some kind of automatic savings, whether it's a savings account or some kind of retirement account or some kind of an investment account. Make it go in there automatically. That will help you create savings. And so the money that flows through that account doesn't, expand your spending plan without you thinking about it, because
Right.
money.
Yeah. If I never see it, then I don't miss it. Right.
That's right.
When I bump up what I put into my retirement accounts or have it automatically put in a savings account, it
Yeah,
never hits my checking. So it never hits my spending money or my budget. Then I don't miss it. You budget and spend. So
that's
many
right.
of us budget and we spend what we have.
We
And
spend what we
that's
have.
part of the problem with people these days is we spend everything we have. But if it's you never see it, like your 401k, you can
Yeah,
have other types of an emergency fund savings where the money automatically gets
right.
deposited in there each month. You never see it,
Yep.
and then it never hits your checking, so no problem, right?
My parents started a automatic deduction to buy a car every 7 years.
Wow, that's a great idea.
Yes, they did that when they were poor school teachers.
Right.
And they've kept it going, and my mom is 83. So, yeah, and so then every time they go buy a car, they've been buying it with cash.
That's huge.
It's
You get
crazy.
a much better deal that way,
Oh,
and
yeah,
you save thousands of dollars on interest
that's
payments.
right.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Very crazy. Yeah,
That's good. I mean, in a good way.
crazy
That's
good.
a good crazy.
But
Yeah.
but think about when they decided to start doing that, interest rates were super high in the 70s and 80s, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think they
14. I remember 14% interest rates and
right.
9 to 14, somewhere between 9 and 14%. Man, you're paying 9% on a car loan. That's rough, right? I mean,
That's
that's
rough.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's what drove them to do it. And now that we're starting to see interest rates on buying vehicles is up around 7 or so.
No more
Um,
0% or 1% financing.
no, I mean, there's I think you can get 2% on a Tesla right now, but that's
Yeah.
the lowest
If
I've seen.
if you qualify
If you
too, you have to
qualify.
have the top credit rating. When they have those advertisements and then you go into the dealer and then
Yeah,
they say, "Well, your loan is going to be 2.5," and you said you had 0%. Well, your credit's not good enough to get the 0% loan. You don't
yeah,
make enough.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, hey, if you're interested in talking about good ways to put together a spending plan, you want to retire early, give us a call at 719-210-4242. Check out our website, nolanfinancialpartners.com. If you want to set up a complimentary consultation, give us a call at 719-210-4242.
All right. So we're talking about things you need to do, period, but
Yep.
especially if you plan on retiring early. What do you have for us next, Chris?
So now we're going to talk about tax brackets a little bit.
I
So
knew taxes would come into play. They always do.
yes.
They
So
always do.
you want to take advantage of traditional IRAs or a Roth IRA, especially if you were in your 30s or 40s. So there's a really good chance that as you get closer to retirement, things change and you cannot contribute to a Roth IRA. Okay. Because there are income limits for contributing to a Roth IRA. So make sure while you're in that lower tax bracket that you get that money in there, because you're paying less money on the money that goes in, right? So if you're in a low tax bracket, say you're in a 12% tax bracket, well, you only pay 12% on the money that went into the Roth. Now you make more money, you're at a 24% tax bracket, then you're going to be paying 24% on that money that went into the Roth. So put money into Roth early. It gives it more time to grow on its own, and you had to pay less in taxes to get it in there. So it's a
There you go.
really
Wow.
kind of an interesting way to think about it. I know
That's a
when
great
you're
strategy.
not making a lot of money, it's hard to save,
Yeah, it is
but
hard.
but
It's
this is
doable, even if you
doable.
think it's impossible. I can't save anything right now. I
Right.
barely make enough. You can always save something.
You can
You
save
know, I've
something.
yeah, yeah.
$50
I
a
don't.
month. I don't care.
Yeah, yeah. You can make it work. You just
Yep.
have to live on less. You can make it work. I've been there and done that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Those lean years out of college or your
Oh,
first
yeah.
jobs that don't pay a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I
Yeah.
didn't eat out when I first got out of college. Or I didn't eat out when I was in college, but I still didn't eat out. For one, it was a habit, and for the other, I wasn't making very much money when you first get to work.
Right.
You have a
Yeah.
lot more money when you first start working, but you've got a lot more things you got to take care of too. And so one of those is preparing for retirement. So,
Yeah. But for
uh,
more strategies like that, I want to
yeah,
remind our listeners to pick up the phone and give you a call, because you have to be working with a financial services professional.
that's right.
Now, what's next? What else is a possible strategy people can utilize?
So here's the one that nobody's going to want to hear really, and that's taking a second job.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
wow, I don't want to work in retirement or work a second job
no.
now while I have my first. A lot of people whine about that, but
Okay. Wait. Hear me out here. All right. So taking a second job can take away a lot of your leisure time. I agree. But if you're ambitious about retiring early, you need more money than somebody who's retiring later. So that second job will come down to, do you have the energy level? Can you physically get there? What's your that additional work due to your mental health? And what's your family situation
yeah,
like? If you got teenagers at home, or maybe you watch your grandkids or something, maybe it's not doable. But if those teenagers are never home anyway, you don't have grandkids yet, maybe a second job will help fill some time, create some more finances for you for your retirement, so you can say, hey, 60, I'm out. And but when you're very close to retirement, um, it's possible that maybe just some simple spending plan adjustments can do the trick.
yeah,
Cutting a few expenses, especially if you're an empty nester, maybe it's time to sell that family home.
yeah,
Move into something smaller that costs less in taxes, less in insurance, and meet your needs and taste. So because you don't have the kids, you don't have ton of people traveling to see you, especially COVID. Nobody travels to see. They're just they're out of the habit of traveling and visiting other people. It's really weird that
mhm,
has kind of happened. But
it
yeah,
has.
so there are things you can do to help create money in retirement. If you just start to really look at, hey, I want to maximize retirement. How do I do that?
Yeah, and nowadays, you can find a job you love, doing something you love, and make
Yeah,
that your part-time job. A lot of people, it's the gig economy, they call it. Everybody has a
sure.
side hustle, right? A
That's right.
side hustle, a gig economy, and, I had a side job I would do,
Oh,
on weekends, and worked, for a local company here. Well, I did this for a number of years, but
right.
unfortunately, mom and dad situation, I have to go down there every
Oh,
weekend. So
sure.
I had to unfortunately give that up, because it was a lot of extra money and I didn't mind it. It, it was meeting people, and I loved it. But the problem is, you got to make it work. And I'm in the sandwich generation. So between my adult children, taking care of my adult children and my parents, there I
Oh,
am,
right.
the Gen Xer, typical Gen Xer, doing that stuff. But yeah, I think it's really
Yeah,
easy and can be enjoyable. And if you're doing it in retirement, it can give you a purpose, a reason to get up each day, right? Or
that
at
that's
least a
what I
few
would
days a week.
that's what I was going to mention. And I mean, this second job could turn into a part-time job in retirement, something that you like to do, something that will keep you involved. Creates some social environment for you when you're in retirement, which is a good thing. So having that second job can set you up good for retirement in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. Well, we have time for one more. What's another strategy for folks out there?
One of the biggest things, and a really simple thing to do, is pay off all your biggest debt sources before you get into retirement. So, um, all your major household debt minus your mortgage. I'm not talking about mortgage here. I'm talking about high interest debt whether it's a car loan or maybe you have a high interest note on repairs to your house or something
Credit
like that,
cards,
credit
HELOC.
cards.
Yeah.
Make sure that all those things are in line with your plan to retire, because having those debts out there when you retire can be an albatross that makes you not feel very good. The house, not a big deal. Everybody's got a house payment, and guess what? If you have a house payment that's 10 years old, you can't refi it now because the interest rates aren't there. So you don't
Right.
want to change it. You don't want to take
No.
the equity and make it a smaller payment right now. So usually that payment, because of inflation, we're making more money, but that payment has stayed the same. So don't worry about the mortgage payment so much as all the other debts.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure, especially in this climate, like you say. I mean, there's good debt and bad debt. Like credit card debt's the worst. Get that
The
paid off.
worst.
Yeah.
The worst.
Yeah, and I know you've talked about that a lot on past shows. Well, before we go, the number one thing I've seen personally
Mhm.
that's helped my wife and I, because we didn't start saving soon enough for retirement. We weren't doing a great job. But the thing that made all the difference in the world is working with a trusted financial professional. And I think that
Yes.
has to be part of the plan. And that's one of the key pieces of the solution. Because if you do that, the financial professional, and I'm not going to name names, Chris McKinney, but I know a guy, can
Oh, yeah.
help you, and they can help you make it happen. And all these strategies, so it's not like you have to do all this research on your own and figure out what
No.
strategy is going to work for my situation, because your neighbor will tell you one thing, a family member or your brother-in-law is going to tell you
Right.
another thing, your best buddy down at the club is going to tell you another thing, but you're different. You have a unique situation, and a financial advisor doesn't have an emotional attachment and can step back and say, no, based on your situation where you're at, here's what's you need to do to avoid costly mistakes and to reach your goals. And everybody has different goals too.
That's right. I met with a client yesterday, Frank, and he doesn't have a lot of money, but he had enough money to retire on if it's all structured and planned out right. Okay, here's the set amount of money that you're going to have all throughout retirement. So he's well into retirement. He's starting to hit the mid 70s. He's got enough money. He's got enough money if he gets ill and has to go into an assisted living facility. But when Frank came to us, he didn't have that much money. He had, maybe $200,000.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a lot of money, but man, if you create a plan so that you don't run through all your cash right at the beginning, you have a good plan, you can make all that work for you so
Yep.
that you know what you have and then you spend what you know, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, hey, great show. And I want to, before we go, make sure our listeners know how they can get a hold of you to get a plan in place or get a second opinion on their retirement plan. Get a written plan in place for your finances and your retirement.
Yeah, so if you're interested in getting a plan together, give us a call at 719-210-4242. Check out our website, nolanfinancialpartners.com. Our office is open. Give us a call, 719-210-4242.
All right. Well, hey, great show today, Chris. Great topic. Good job. And listeners and viewers, thanks for tuning in. That does it for today's episode of Nolan Financial Radio with our host, Chris McKinney.
Join us again soon for another episode of Nolan Financial Radio. Take care, and we'll talk to you again.